Remember the 2005 coming-of-age superhero movie Sky High? You won't believe which actor went on to become an Academy Award winner. Keep watching to get the dirt on the entire cast. Michael Angarano starred in Sky High as Will Stronghold, the son of legendary heroes The Commander and Jetstream, whose late-blooming powers land him on the sidekick track at his new super school. Angarano was only 18 when Sky High first debuted, but by that point he'd already made over half a dozen TV appearances and landed in several film roles, including a spot in Cameron Crowe's music-themed classic Almost Famous. Sky High was just the beginning of Angarano's film career. Over the next decade, he appeared in more than a dozen films, from The Forbidden Kingdom to The Stanford Prison Experiment. He also kept up an impressive television career with recurring roles in The Nick, 24, Will and Grace, and I'm Dying Up Here. These days, the 33-year-old can currently be seen as a recurring cast member in the hit NBC drama This Is Us. Danielle Panabaker landed the part of plant-loving Layla in Sky High, her feature film debut, just a few years into her acting career. After the film's release, she spent the rest of the 2000s appearing in films like Yours, Mine, and Ours and the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th. The early 2010s saw Panabaker in a number of TV series, most notably Necessary Roughness and FX's Western-themed Justified. These days, the 34-year-old Panabaker is best known for her work in the CW's Arrowverse shows as Caitlin Snow and her supervillain alter ego Killer Frost. She first appeared in the role as a guest star in the second season of Arrow, but when CW created the spin-off show The Flash, Panabaker joined as a main cast member. Since then, she's appeared in multiple episodes of other Arrowverse shows like Supergirl and DC Legends of Tomorrow. Panabaker has been vocal about her desire to return to the world of Sky High. In 2019, she told the International Business Times that she would be, quote, 1,000% interested in participating in a sequel. She went on to say, "I'd like to think that maybe they're teachers at Sky High because it's been long enough that they could go back and teach." There aren't any solid plans for a sequel so far, but the door certainly remains open. Dee Jay Daniels had a prolific career as a child actor. He got his start on NBC's In the House with LL Cool J, and had a starring role on The Hughleys from 1998 to 2002. Sky High was Daniels' first and only film role. His character Ethan was part of a group of sidekicks at the core of the film, and he finds a way to help save the day despite his seemingly useless ability to turn himself into a puddle of goo. Despite his impressive and hilarious performance, Daniels struggled to find more work as he got older. In an extended 2021 interview with Vlad TV alongside his former co-star D.L. Hughley, Daniels opened up about his struggles with acting. Fans were shocked to see that over the years, Daniels had covered his face with several tattoos, a decision he claimed to have made partially in response to his lagging acting career. Daniels also talked about how his career was further derailed when he was arrested on suspicion of murder in 2012. It didn't take long for Daniels to be acquitted, but the experience left an impression on him nonetheless. Nowadays, Daniels is pursuing a rap career, but he says that he's always open to returning to acting. Few actors from Sky High have kept as busy as Nicholas Braun, who was just 17 when the film first released. Braun told BuzzFeed that he was with two of his friends when he got the call that he'd landed the role of Zach in Sky High, and that he couldn't contain his excitement. "I screamed and yelled. I still feel that way though when I get a part." If that's the case, Braun has spent a good amount of time yelling and screaming. After Sky High, Braun spent a handful of years bouncing between television shows before landing a recurring role on 10 Things I Hate About You. From there, he turned his attention to the big screen for films like The Stanford Prison Experiment with fellow Sky High alum Michael Angarano, How to Be Single, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Braun has kept just as busy in recent years, starring in two major films, Zola and The Big Ugly, in 2020 alone. However, Braun truly broke into the mainstream as fan-favorite character Cousin Greg in HBO's Succession. As for what's to come in Braun's still young career,
you have to wait and see like everybody else. But it's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Who could forget Magenta, the shapeshifter that can only become a guinea pig? Kelly Vitz's character in Sky High had one of the most memorable powers and definitely the most memorable hairstyle. Magenta was put on the sidekick track with the film's other protagonists, and she helped prove that anyone, no matter their powers, has the ability to be a hero. Vitz had a short-lived acting career that began in 2002 when she made a one-line appearance on the Disney Channel show Lizzie McGuire. Her next role was in Sky High, and after that she landed roles in the horror film Simon Says, Eye of the Dolphin, Nancy Drew, and Tenius. Her final film role was as Ailes Gilmore in the 2010 film Leone. That same year, Vitz graduated from the University of California, Berkeley with a degree in public health, leaving the film industry to pursue other career goals. Stephen Strait was fresh out of high school and just 18 years old when he joined the cast of Sky High as the aptly named Warren Peace. Sky High was Strait's first feature film, and only his second professional acting credit after a guest appearance on Third Watch in 2001. Strait followed up the role with a run of feature films over the next 5 years, which included The Covenant, Undiscovered, 10,000 BC, Stop Loss, and City Island. Since 2015, Strait has starred in the sci-fi Amazon Prime series The Expanse as the brave starship captain Jim Holden. In a December 2020 interview with Geeks of Color, Strait was asked if he'd ever consider reprising his role as Warren Peace if Disney revived Sky High in some way. Strait said that he's absolutely open to the idea, adding, "I loved that experience, and they're awesome people." Malika Haqq started acting in commercials and TV shows at a young age. By the early 2000s, she was used to the grind of auditions and faceless casting directors so much that when she and her twin sister, Khadijah, auditioned for Sky High, they didn't even realize it was a feature film. She told E! Online, "We actually thought the movie was going to go straight to the Disney Channel, and out of all of those options, we felt so blessed and overwhelmed to learn that Sky High was going to be our first film." Haqq has starred in a few more feature films in the years since Sky High. Most recently, she appeared in the 2016 film Definitely Divorcing. However, Haqq is best known for her recurring role in the reality TV series Keeping Up with the Kardashians. She's been part of the show since season 2, and she was a main cast member on the spin-off series Dash Dolls. Khadijah Haqq McCray's big break also came when she was cast in Sky High, and her career since has had a similar trajectory to her sister's as well. Just 1 year later, the two went on to star in the film ATL. McCray's last scripted acting role was in an episode of Kevin Hart's Real Husbands of Hollywood in 2013. But like her sister, she was featured on Keeping Up with the Kardashians and co-starred on Dash Dolls. In 2010, she married NFL defensive end Bobby McCray, and in a January 2021 Instagram post, the pair announced a new addition to their family. Jake Sandvig was only 19 when Sky High arrived in theaters, and it marked his second feature film. His first, The Story of Us, starred Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer, and it came out when Sandvig was just 13 years old. Despite making appearances in a few TV episodes in the meantime, it was after Sky High that his acting career really started to heat up. Sandvig had recurring roles on 20 Good Years and Cracking Up. His next major film role came in 2010's Easy A, and a year later, he wrote and starred in the film A Bag of Hammers. After that, Sandvig returned to television, moving from Weeds to CSI to USA's Rush. His most recent roles were in 2017, when he appeared in Bridal Boot Camp and Hometown Hero on the Hallmark Channel. Will Harris followed up his role as Speed in Sky High with 2 low-budget features in 2007, On Broadway and Awaken the Dead. After that, he spent much of his time acting in some of the most popular shows of the decade, such as CSI, Friday Night Lights, and Community. Harris's pace has never slowed down. While continuing to make guest appearances on a variety of shows throughout the 2010s, he's also lent his talents to the films In Time and Sharon 123. He's had a busy 2021. He made a guest appearance on ABC's The Rookie, and he took part in the crime drama No Man of God and the horror film Shot in the Dark. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who played Gwen in Sky High, is probably the film's most recognizable cast member that isn't Kurt Russell. Though she began her acting career in 1997, Sky High was only Winstead's third feature film. Her role in the film gave Winstead the opportunity to display her range, from kind-hearted classmate to diabolical villain. Winstead followed up Sky High with Final Destination 3, and horror has been part of her wheelhouse ever since. She's made appearances in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and 10 Cloverfield Lane, as well as iconic pop culture films like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Birds of Prey. Winstead's most recent leading role was as the titular assassin in the Netflix action film Kate. While speaking with Collider about the movie, Winstead took a moment to reflect on her beloved performance in Sky High and speculated about what role her character would take in a sequel film, saying, "Gwen is still operating as a supervillain for sure."
I went through puberty twice for this.
Kevin Heffernan had already starred in Super Troopers by the time he got a part in Sky High, and he put his comedic experience to excellent use by bringing school bus driver Ron Wilson's unabashed excitement to life. Just like the audience watching Sky High, Ron is an enthusiastic fan of all things superhero. Getting to drive the next generation of heroes to Sky High every morning is a dream come true for Ron, and by the end of the film, he gets his own opportunity to be a hero. In the years since Sky High, Kevin Heffernan has continued putting his talents to work in comedies of all stripes. He's made guest appearances in some of the biggest sitcoms of the past 2 decades, Curb Your Enthusiasm, How I Met Your Mother, and Veep, to name a few. And his film roles, which include Strange Wilderness and The Baby Makers, have had a similarly comedic bend. Currently, fans can catch up with Heffernan on True TV's Tacoma FD. He created the series with the help of Steve Lemmy, and the two of them lead the show as Chief Terry McConkey and Captain Eddie Panisi. As one of the few adults cast in Sky High, Jim Rash already had over a decade of acting experience under his belt when he signed on to play Mr. Grayson and his alter ego Stitches. Most notably, from 2002 through 2006, he had a recurring role as Fenton on That 70s Show. Though he'd maintained a steady stream of roles up to that point, Rash's career was in many ways just getting started. 4 years after Sky High, Rash joined the cast of Community as Dean Craig Pelton, a role that he would continue playing throughout the show's entire 6-season run. He's also made non-stop appearances in TV shows and movies for the past decade. Most recently, he's been the voice of Flix in Star Wars Resistance and the Riddler in the animated Harley Quinn series. Rash is also the only member of the Sky High cast to have won an Academy Award so far, having received the Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar for The Descendants in 2012. Dave Foley is probably best known for the work he did before Sky High. Foley and Kevin McDonald formed sketch comedy troupe The Kids in the Hall in 1984, and their TV show of the same name ran from 1988 to 1995. The Kids in the Hall is set for a revival in 2022, but Foley has kept himself plenty busy in the years since it went off the air. In addition to starring in the occasional feature film, Foley has spent a majority of his time making guest appearances on everyone's favorite TV shows. He's taken on live action series like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Veep, as well as animated shows like Robot Chicken and Dan Vs. In 2021 alone, Foley has made guest appearances in Young Sheldon, Call Your Mother, Superstore, and The Morning Show. There isn't a style of comedy that Foley can't seem to handle perfectly. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.